everyone, welcome back to Moving the Chains with Ashmere here on Nuts and Bolts Sports. And I know it's Thanksgiving week this week. I'm so excited to eat. I know everybody is excited to get away from work and just chill and be around family or be around nobody. I mean, we all have 9 to 5 jobs, so just like a little R&R is good for the soul. So I'm looking forward to everything. I wish everyone happy Thanksgiving. If you don't celebrate, then have a happy holiday for the 4-day weekend. And for this, I'm gonna split this up into a couple segments that I've come up with because I feel like it's been getting too rambly. Like I've just been talking about a ton of analysis and it's just not really painting the picture as I want to. So I'm gonna do a couple different segments. So the first one I'm gonna start with is actually the fourth and flop because that'll just build on to how everything else is going to work. So for my fourth and flop this week, I'm gonna talk about specific teams, and it's hard to even start this way, but I'm gonna start with the Raiders against the Jets because Derek Carr was just not playing up to par at all. When the Jets entered MetLife Stadium in New York, they were actually booed by Raider fans, and I think that gave them like a fire under their butts to really like play as well as they did. I mean, they had a pick 6 on Derek Carr, and that's kind of like my highlighted flop of the week because, you know, it really demonstrated how Derek was just shaken by their defense. He just wasn't prepared. He was playing like not as his true self as he's been playing the last 4 games. I know I've been calling him pretty unreliable, so I feel like I'm just continuing on with that term for him. It's like he's hot and cold, and we kind of have to depend on other players to make the major plays for the Raiders and for them to win. And the Jets defense was just like a tough battle on him. Like he barely got the ball out, and then towards the end, John Gruden took him out and replaced him with Mike Glennon. So that's how you know it was a bad day for Derek. And so Derek had an interception, which I talked about, by Brian Poole, picked it off, and that was just a really great play for the Jets. And after that you could just notice the defense closing in on him. So definitely not a great game by the Raiders. And Hunter Renfrow was injured in the 3rd quarter, and now he's not returning against the Chiefs next week, which I feel like is a really big loss for the Raiders because Mahomes is trying to keep his lead in the division, and I don't think the Raiders are going to be able to beat them in Kansas City next week. It's going to be a really tough game, like very tough offensively for Derek Carr. The Chiefs defense is pretty unreliable, as is Derek, but I think Derek Carr's unreliability is like up here and the Chiefs' unreliability on defense is like down here. So I feel like they're going to put a lot of pressure on him, just as the Jets did. But for them to lose to the Chiefs is way more expected than it was to lose to the Jets. I mean, Sam Darnold was on fire. 315 yards, 2 touchdowns, and his own rushing touchdown. I mean, like, he would have been an A1 player to pick up in fantasy. I am not going to say I believe the Raiders were going to lose in New York. I really hoped for them to win because they were on a really great winning streak and they were bringing up the momentum and the fight for the Chiefs in the division. But a good performance by the Jets, flop for the Raiders. And against the Chiefs, I do believe they're going to lose. I'm so sorry to say it, but I think they're going to lose. It'll be like 21-10 or something, which is like such a shot for the Raiders defense because they've been performing super well. But we'll move on to my next flop, and that will be Aaron Rodgers in Santa Clara against the Niners because his performance was like way mediocre. I mean, for the way that people hype up Aaron Rodgers every week and the way that he performed against the Niners this week, it was just like, I don't know what else he needs to be a threat in the NFL anymore because he's got great receivers. He's got a great tight end. Devontae Adams is like, I'm sure anybody else would kill to be throwing to him. I truly think Aaron Rodgers is kind of like the diva of the NFL. I feel like he's expecting a lot from his team and from his managers and just like the organization, and then they give him what he needs in return, but they're not putting up what they should be putting up in regards to like a competition. Like that was just an absolute blowout. So for Aaron, I just hope he kind of gets himself together. He'll still come through and show off in the playoffs, but following that, I mean, I don't know how far he'll make it, and that's kind of like what the issue was last year. It was just like they couldn't get any further than the playoffs, and usually they've been like one of the top contenders. So for Aaron Rodgers, he only had 35 minutes of possession time, and he threw for 104 yards. 104 yards. I feel like that's just like such a small number for a quarterback that's able to throw Hail Marys into the end zone and win the game in the end. So I just expect a better performance next week. He's playing against the Giants. Like, they've got to step it up. I don't think Danny Dimes is going to be a threat, but to win those easy games and not put up a good competition for these more difficult games, it just kind of puts you lower in the way that you should be perceived throughout the NFL. So Rodgers, terrible, sorry. Those are my 2 fourth and flops for the week. And cool. And now we'll move on to the football flash, which I know everybody loves, because who doesn't want to hear more about my opinions in these random questions that I don't know what they are. So with my A1 producer, she's going to ask me her questions.
Should the Patriots be worried with their offense?
Should the Patriots be worried with their offense? I'm going to say no, because I believe Bill Belichick is like one of the best head coaches out there, and he's able to mold people, except Antonio Brown, into the elite players that he's looking for to work with Tom Brady. So I feel like he can still, Sanu's injured, but I feel like he'll rest up and come back, and he's still got Edelman out there. So, I mean, there's still people that he can pick off and target, him being Tom Brady, but with Belichick's way of working and the way that he's built around Tom Brady and kind of kept this like top team with him, I think they'll be okay. I feel like their next game that's going to be difficult is going to be the Chiefs for sure, but after that they're playing the rest of their division and the Bengals, so they don't have too much to worry about, but definitely got to be ready for the Ravens to come back. I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but that's for another day. Next question.
Since you just ended with Baltimore, do you think anyone will beat Baltimore?
Do I think anyone will beat Baltimore? I'm going to say no. Mark Ingram is a monster, okay? If him and Derrick Henry went toe-to-toe, I'd actually really like to see that, because 2 of the dopest running backs to watch right now. Marquise Brown, great receiver. Lamar is his own running back in a sense, and he's able to throw dimes down the field. I just feel like if they keep winning and they keep bringing this energy that they're bringing, there's no one that can tear them down. And the numbers that Lamar's putting up, I mean, like I mentioned last week, for him to be sitting in the fourth quarter, I feel like it's just such a testament to how well he's playing. He makes his team feel so comfortable, he doesn't even have to be on the field anymore. So I think next week will be a true test, though, against the Niners, because the Niners are on the same exact high the Ravens are on. They're just both playing at their best level. Their defenses are both comparable. I do think the Ravens are going to win next week because they're playing in Baltimore, so I don't know when they're going to lose again, to be honest. They play the Bills following, and then they play the Jets, the Browns, which, that's nothing, and then the Steelers. So the Niners are definitely one of the top teams that they're playing against within the next coming weeks, and I feel like that'll truly determine, who's better in the NFL right now.
Do you think Jacksonville should go back to Mizzou?
Do I think Nick Foles is done? I don't know. Minshew was putting up some good numbers. I mean, Minshew was super fun to watch on the field. I mean, I think he gave the Jaguars an energy that they're kind of lacking with Nick Foles right now. I don't think Nick Foles is playing terribly, but we've got to reconsider that he's coming off of a tough injury. He hasn't played all season, essentially. And so it's just kind of hard to determine, is this just truly how Nick Foles is going to keep playing, or is it just because he's getting back into the rhythm? And, I mean, it is late in the season. It's hard that Minshew had to be put back on the bench because Foles is the starting QB. I don't know if they'll replace him with Minshew. I think at this time in the season, I'm going to say no. But, Minshew could definitely look at other options. I don't think he played poorly this season for sure. So I'm going to do another segment called the Hot Highlights of the Week, and I definitely have to talk about the Niners and the Baltimore Ravens because they were playing unbelievably well. Those are just, their matchup is going to be so fun to watch. I don't think anybody is going to miss that game at 10 o'clock this week. They just played amazingly. The Ravens dominated the Rams. Their defense shut Goff down offensively. Marquise Brown had 2 touchdowns. they're just so versatile. There's so many good people, so many great key components on that team, and the energy that Lamar brings is just like phenomenal to watch. I really enjoy every minute of it. Like I can't, even though they're crushing them 45-6, it's just like he's so energetic, and like he even got mad at himself for not rushing in a touchdown. Like, dude, you were already winning, you know? Like, why are you getting so frustrated? There's just so many great things from him. And he only threw for 169 yards, which I know doesn't sound like I'm playing it down, but Rodgers only threw for 104, so I mean, like, he didn't do that much, but it was really great to watch. Goff was sacked 2 times, threw 2 picks. Like, the Baltimore defense is just fantastic, and so that's definitely one of my hot highlight teams of the week. I feel like they're just unstoppable, and it's weird that I'm going to use the Niners as my next hot highlights team because they're playing each other on Sunday, but I have to highlight the Niners as well. I mean, the way that Jimmy's playing, Kittle's playing, like they've got, their energies are so comparable. I think that's why that makes them both of the teams that you need to keep watching, because the way that the Niners just demolished Aaron Rodgers, like I feel like I'm kind of repeating everything because I've talked about these teams already, but they're just like the 2 hot teams of the season right now, and that they're going on head to head. It's kind of like a Super Bowl preview maybe, I don't know. Definitely great game. Next we're going to talk about some fantasy football because like it's getting close, and last week I did a couple things and I lost, and I was pretty pissed, honest to God, because I had these projections in my mind for myself and I listened to too many outsiders, and you know, every week I text my friends like, oh, I'm just gonna do as I say and not listen to anybody else, and I continue to not do that. So I know this is crazy, okay, but I was believing that Sam Darnold would do better than Aaron Rodgers against the Niners. And why? They are the Niners defense. Like, I don't think anybody who started Jared Goff this week assuming that the Baltimore defense wasn't going to show up, right? So I wanted to pick up Darnold, who I believed would get me at least 15 points. What did he get? Like 30. And Aaron Rodgers, like 9. So don't follow those projections for your A1 quarterbacks. I feel like Rodgers is low-key a flop this week. That was one person that I really was upset that I didn't get to pick up. And the Jets defense also had 18 points against the Raiders. If you watch that, they had a pick 6, like I mentioned earlier. Would have been a great pickup. But for this week, I got to give it up for Liz. I watched the fantasy football, the Yahoo Fantasy Football team in LA and in Sunnyvale every Sunday before I pick my lineup and kind of make my last minute decisions. And Liz is like one of the most knowledgeable women out there on fantasy football. I literally love her. She mentioned to pick up Russell Gage from the Atlanta Falcons, and he was a great pickup last week. He got me like 15 points. Granted, I did drop Tyler Boyd, and that wasn't very smart on my end just because he did get 17 points, but I didn't really imagine Tyler to do anything. He's been silent for like 3 weeks, you know, so that really helped me out. And I also picked up A.J. Brown from Tennessee because I felt like he was going to have a great game, and Tannehill's just been utilizing everybody that he can, which kind of means it's over for Marcus in Tennessee, which sucks for all the Duck fans out there that are like rooting for Tennessee all the time as Duck fans. Maybe Marcus just needs a new change just like Cam does. But yeah, A.J. Brown was a great pickup, and I feel like for this week as well, they're playing Indiana. If he's still out there, I think you should put him. Tonight is waiver wire night. Those are 2 receivers you could definitely utilize this week. Russell Gage is playing New Orleans this week. I don't think he'll be as strong as he was last week. Also, Tariq Cohen's been putting up a ton of good numbers. Definitely keep your eye out for him. Mike Gesicki from the Miami Dolphins. He put up 12 points of his own. Like, definitely a tight end to utilize if he's still out there. And Chris Conley is another great player to pick up. He's playing Tampa Bay. I feel like when you're playing Jameis, it's always a high-scoring game. So just a couple receivers to keep your eyes open. The running back land is pretty deserted, so I feel like the only thing we can bank on at this point are like slot receivers and a lucky tight end here and there like Gesicki. And finally, I'm going to do my football predictions for next week. So for Thanksgiving, Turkey Day, I predict the Bears will win in Detroit because Matthew Stafford's still out. His back's still injured, even though he's like going insane, staying on the sidelines because he feels like he could win, and I feel like he could win as well. Trubisky's kind of like coming back. So I think the Bears could definitely take over Detroit. Cowboys are playing in Dallas, and I feel like they've got to win this game, right? Just to prove that they can be playoff contenders. It's just like a true testament to Dak and to Zeke and to Amari Cooper and to like this triple threat that they have. The Cowboys really need to win this at home just to kind of keep up with everything that's going on in their division. And Falcons and Saints, I mean, Drew Brees wants redemption, right? Falcons shut him down in New Orleans, so now he's going to Atlanta, and I feel like he wants to shut it down in Atlanta. The Falcons defense kind of was like a 2-game little hot spot that they were on, but I feel like they'll bring that back, especially because this is a division game. It's Thanksgiving. They're on the spotlight. I just feel like they're going to play really well. I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game, but it'll be just like a very strong offensive game. I feel like Matt Ryan's going to get like at least 2 touchdowns, and it's just going to be a good fight for sure. And then for the rest of the day on Sunday, I'm predicting Ravens win just because they're in Baltimore. I think if the Niners were playing at home, the Niners would win. That home field advantage, dude, it really matters. And Raiders and Chiefs, I'm sorry to my Raider Nation out there, but the Chiefs are going to win, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. And for the Pats and the Texans, after Deshaun played as poorly as he did against Lamar, I just think, Tom Brady's going to take this over. Deshaun Watson was playing so well. Him and DeAndre Hopkins were just like amazing to watch. But now, Patriots defense are like one of the top ranked in the NFL. So it's going to be a hard matchup. Oh, wait, I can't miss this game. Seattle and the Vikings. They're playing in Seattle. This will be a tough matchup because Kirk Cousins, they're coming off a bye. He's been playing very well. He's been utilizing his offense great, and he's just been like putting up great numbers, throwing down the field, like keeping his name alive. So I think this will be a close game, kind of like 21-27. I don't know who I think will win. Who do you think would win, Seattle or the Vikings? They are playing in Seattle, so I kind of feel like it'll be Seattle.
I think it'll be Seattle.
Yeah, definitely, I guess definitely Seattle in the high-scoring game for sure. And now I've brought college football to the end of this week just because I know everybody watched the Arizona and the Oregon game. It was on at like prime time. The Ducks were playing like terrible. Like, I don't know how Justin Herbert is like one of the top QBs to be drafted. I just like don't think I would feel very secure having him in my QB position. Like nobody like Kyler Murray. I just like for him to throw 2 back-to-back interceptions and just like kind of look like at a lull through the entire first half, and then the last 5 minutes kick in and we're getting whooped, and then all of a sudden Oregon wants to like pick up the pace, and I think they scored like 3 touchdowns with like within a minute each. Like it was just like back to back to back. We were only within 3 points, and then Jaden Daniels, dude, that guy put up some numbers. 408 yards, 3 touchdowns, just like he was just playing so well. It was a great performance by ASU. Like if we won that game, it would have just been because we can do things in crunch time, but in reality, like I just guess we weren't meant to win and we weren't meant to be in the college football playoffs. So let's hope that they make it to the Rose Bowl. Now they've moved from 6 to 14, which sucks because now Utah is 6, and that'll be a very tough matchup when the Ducks play Utah. I just want to thank everybody for watching. If you have any comments, questions, whatever, love, put it on the bottom in the comments section. Make sure to follow us on all of our social handles, and definitely check out that basketball podcast because they've always got some great content going on, and those guys are really cool to listen to. And to have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I'll see you next week. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one.